Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity, yum. It's like a treat.
Gotta love Taco Tuesday, or at the very least, you gotta love the Taco Tuesday theme. We enjoy our tacos here. It is the quintessential American food, or the quintessential modern American food, because, you know, we have kind of Americanized tacos like we have just about every other food that's come from a different country or has a different origin. Today, we will be enjoying fish tacos. My daughter's making them with cod today, so it will be delicious. Anyway, I just love tacos. I love fish tacos. Especially, once again, when they're made out of cod. So good times will be had by all. Let us know what kind of tacos you will be having today on Taco Tuesday. Just go ahead and put your comments there. Put it there in the comments section. And by the way, that just so you know, this show is live. If you're watching us right now, if it's Monday through Friday, if it's 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or Rumble, we're live. So go ahead and drop us a comment. Let us know what you think about the program. Let you know what you think about the topics that we're discussing. You name it. Just let us know what's up. Let us know that you are there and whether or not you enjoy what we're doing. And if you do, make sure also do us a favor. Make sure you like, share, and encourage your friends to do the same. Now, before we get into today's program, we got to pay the bills. And that usually starts by, giving a quick shout out to our sponsors. So we're going to go ahead and start off with Hitman Industries. You can find them at hitmanindustries.net. The best in barrels, rifle and pistol length barrels available on the market. If you've bought an AR in the last 5 years, chances are you already have one of their barrels. So whether you're looking to rebarrel your current firearm or you're looking to do a whole new build, hit up Hitman Industries. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all level of government in the state of California, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. In fact, Ronald Reagan referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. So check them out today at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. Then we've got Hog Holsters. That's HAWG Holsters, helping Americans wear guns. The top-of-the-line concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market, no matter what firearm you have, no matter what setup you have, what optic you have, what light you may have. Trust me, they've got a setup for you. Just go to hogholsters.com, and when you do, make sure you use the discount code The Rundown. That's all caps, one word, no space, just like it is right up there, and you'll get a discount on us. Once again, that's hogholsters.com. And then finally, if you're looking for outdoor gear, camping gear, if you're looking for hot weather, cold weather, wet weather, you name it, they've got all things tactical except the gun. They've got a huge selection. They've got great competitive prices, fast shipping. Check them out today, uscombatgear.com. All right, that is now going to get us to our first story of the day. Now, I wanted to report on this one because, the mainstream media has finally decided to report on it, which is why I think it has become a story. You know that the House of Representatives, there's a House subcommittee that has actually been investigating censorship by the administration, by the deep state, by the three-letter agencies. Not just, by the way, during the Biden-Harris administration, but in general, because we'll just put it this way. There are folks in the alphabet agencies that have been guilty of censoring even sitting presidents. And that's in part, what Mark Zuckerberg was reporting on. So Mark Zuckerberg, the founder and CEO, the head of Facebook, wrote a letter to Jim Jordan, who's heading this committee, talking about the numerous times that Facebook or that the Biden-Harris administration attempted to censor speech there on Facebook. Now, this is not new. In fact, right around this same time, 2 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg was on the Joe Rogan show, the Joe Rogan Experience, and he revealed all of this. But needless to say, the mainstream media decided that they were not going to talk about it. Here's a little bit of that interview.
How do you guys handle things when they're a big news item that's controversial? Like there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York Post.
We had that too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. Basically the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant. So our protocol is different from Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do is we have, if something is reported to us as potentially misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. And for I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
it got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less. So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely...
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's meaningful. But basically, a lot of people were still able to share it. We got a lot of complaints that was the case. Obviously this is a hyper-political issue, so depending on what side of the political spectrum, you either think we didn't censor it enough or censored it way too much. But we weren't sort of as black and white about it as Twitter. We just kind of thought, hey, look, if the FBI, which I still view as a legitimate institution in this country, it's like very professional law enforcement, they come to us and tell us that we need to be on guard about something, then I want to take that seriously.
Did they specifically say you need to be on guard about that story?
No, I don't remember if it was that specifically, but it basically fit the pattern.
So now you might recall, so back then when this happened 2 years ago, very little people in the media actually reported on it. In fact, I did a Google search today because I remember we talked about it back then, but I wanted to make sure that I did a little bit of a search today to try and find some of the folks here. And if you look here, you look at the BBC said something about it. Spotify, that was actually the actual show. This is a recent story. Once again, this is AP. This is the one we're going to look at today. CNN, look, what we learned from Zuckerberg's 3-hour chat. So in other words, they didn't really talk about it. They didn't really put it out there. New York Post was really the only one who really reported on it. And this is what they reported. It says Mark Zuckerberg tells Joe Rogan Facebook was wrong to ban posts on the Hunter Biden laptop story. And that's really what we were talking about back then. So now as the story comes out, when they're talking about censorship, it wasn't just that, but it was also, they're talking about some COVID-19 content. Now, let's be real. We know it wasn't just COVID-19 content, but you see the Associated Press, who is one of the entities that is the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. We see here that that's primarily what they are promoting. Let's read a little bit of the story. It says here, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg says senior Biden administration officials pressured Facebook to censor some COVID-19 content. No, a bunch of COVID-19 content during the pandemic, and vowed that the social media giant would push back if it faced such demands again. In a letter to Representative Jim Jordan, the Republican chair of the House Judiciary Committee, Zuckerberg alleges that officials, including from those from the White House, repeatedly pressured Facebook for months to take down certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire. The officials expressed a lot of frustration when the company didn't agree, he said in the letter. Quote, I believe the government pressure was wrong and regret that we were not more outspoken about it. Mark Zuckerberg wrote in a letter dated August 26th and posted on the committee's Facebook page. On the committee's Facebook page and on its account on X. The letter is the latest repudiation by Zuckerberg of efforts to target misinformation around the coronavirus pandemic during and after the 2020 presidential election, particularly as allegations have emerged from the posts that were deleted and restricted wrongfully. Now, notice in the article they don't talk about the Hunter Biden laptop story because he also does refer to that. And mind you, that, by the way, was not under the Biden-Harris administration. That was still during the Trump administration. That was when the alphabet agencies, which we know didn't like Donald Trump, decided that they were going to come out against him and they were going to do everything possible to make sure that he did not get reelected. The interview that you saw with Joe Rogan, those were, well, that was the FBI that was coming to them during the Trump administration. So these were people who were supposed to be working in the administration while Donald Trump was president. And they sought to basically undermine the election. Now, mind you, remember, let's not forget, they had the laptop. They knew it was real. If for no other reason, let's say they were like, hey, there's going to be some disinformation out there or some misinformation out there. And then all of a sudden, the Hunter Biden laptop thing comes out, and they're like, wow, should we say anything about this? They could have reached out and said, no, that's real. That's not the misinformation that's not the misinformation we were talking about. But they didn't. And they had them, which basically Facebook made sure that information was restricted. And trust me, when they throttle something, they throttle it. Zuckerberg in that thing was like, well, we just didn't get dispersed as much as it would have. Yeah, no, I've seen what happens when they throttle posts, when they throttle content and information, when they put a screen over it that says, yeah, no, this isn't real. This may not be real information. You can see that the number of views goes down probably 95% at around somewhere around there. It goes down significantly if it's disfavored or considered explicit or bad content. So no, they played a major role. And then you have Twitter, and this is the other thing that's not reported, but it's not talked about. But this, we wouldn't even know about what happened with Twitter if it hadn't been for Elon Musk buying Twitter and then revealing the files, the Twitter files that he released. We wouldn't even know about what they did with Twitter, and Twitter was just all on board with them. Twitter was all down with the censorship, pre-Elon Musk. Now, that doesn't include the biggest players in the market, Google and YouTube. Yeah, doesn't even include them. We don't know what they did because, well, no one's bought the company from them and released the emails, or no one has come out publicly and said what they did. But we know, because experts have actually shared information that says that they repressed searches, right? That they made sure that certain searches that certain things didn't come up. That when you did like the predictive typing, you type something like, let's see, Hillary Clinton email scandal, right? Normally, by the time you get to Hillary Clinton email, scandal will pop up. You can click on it and there it goes. But they were suppressing not just even the predictive typing, they were suppressing everything. They were sending the searches down. You could find them if you were willing to go 4 and 5 pages deep into the search. I did, because I knew they were there. But if you're just looking for something along the surface, you're a for lack of a better term, low information voter who's just looking for a quick, okay, I just want to find out if this is a thing, then you're probably not going to go that deep. But they were suppressing it. We also know that they were taking fundraising emails and they were pushing them into spam. We know this. We actually know this to be true. There's no doubt about it. There is a website, and now I feel bad that I did not include the information, that I didn't have it already ready for you. But there's a website, we've talked about it before, where they actually have identified specific races where the information suppression, where the tactics of big tech, basically Google, Alphabet, and Gmail and YouTube, actually played a role in affecting the outcome of the elections. We know this already. But hey, no one cares. Or not no one cares. People are finally recognizing that it happened. So for those of you who are watching who get frustrated when we talk about a stolen election, first of all, let me just be clear. I want to be very, very upfront about this. I have not seen sufficient enough evidence to believe that election machines were tampered with or that ballot boxes were stuffed in terms of stealing an election. So when I talk about a stolen election, that is not what I'm referring to. I'm not telling you it didn't happen. I'm saying I haven't seen sufficient enough evidence. All right. But where I do know that the election has been stolen is two different places. Number one, in areas where, in states and in municipalities where election rules were changed midstream, where they never did mail-in ballots before and all of a sudden they're doing all mail-in ballots, where they used to have some sort of a verification in order to make sure that the ballot coming in was valid, that the person who was actually filled out the ballot was the person who was supposed to. They eliminated in a number of places those rules, and they just let the ballots go straight through. A place like California, they mail ballots to everybody, and we know for a fact that there were at least almost 20,000, somewhere around 20,000 people who were not supposed to get ballots, got ballots. And these are people who are non-citizens. I don't know how many of them voted. I don't have that number off the top of my head. But we know that a lot of people got ballots that weren't even supposed to be voting. When we talk about stolen elections, we're talking about the things that Google did, the things that YouTube did, eliminating entire channels for sharing information that was deemed disinformation by the administration. And a lot of it, especially around COVID-19, especially around the Hunter Biden laptop, we now know to be true. Which, by the way, they knew to be true at the time. They knew that Hunter Biden, they had the Hunter Biden laptop, so they knew it was true, right? And that impacted the election, because you gotta know that election, 2020 election, was I get that Biden won the popular vote, right? He got more votes because, mainly because of New York and California, but in terms of the battleground states where it mattered, it was really a difference of tens of thousands of votes that were the difference between Joe Biden being president and Donald Trump being president. And you're going to tell me that it affected none of that? Really? You're going to tell me it affected none of it? None? Let's see. We got a guy here named RJ Johnson. He's saying, oh, man, another Trumpster crying. Dude, Trump lost and he's going to lose again. No, what I'm talking about here, once again, is clear acknowledgement that the Biden-Harris administration, that the government is involved in censoring the information that you're supposed to be getting, that the media is supposed to be providing to you about what's going on in the world. They're not telling you the truth. Big tech is putting their thumb on the scales on behalf of government. Now, when a company decides to do that, they are no longer objective, right? They're picking winners and losers. And in this particular case, they're doing so at the behest of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Now, say what you want, but it's the truth. You can say I'm crying all you want, but it's the truth. And I'll be honest with you, it's amazing that Republicans can win when you have mainstream media against you, when you have the technology companies that provide the data that the information comes to you on, and they have the ability to control whether or not you get it, and they're against you, and the entertainment industry is against you, and academia is against you. It is amazing. It is quite frankly amazing that Republicans ever win. But you know why they do? Because for the most part, people seek the truth. And in this particular case, and the truth that we're dealing with right now is, RJ, the truth is Kamala Harris has had 38 days. 38 days as the presidential nominee. Hasn't done a single interview. Hasn't done a single interview. And most in the mainstream media aren't even calling her out on it. They're like, well, hey, you know what? She doesn't need to do interviews. I mean, does she really need to do interviews? And they're like, no, I don't know. I don't think she really needs to do interviews. You don't believe that's what they're saying? Are you kidding me? You really gonna sit here and tell me you don't believe that's what they're saying? Okay, well, check this one out.
Donald Trump is in Michigan as part of his battleground blitz this week. Let's get reaction from Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Dingell of Michigan. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us this evening. The former president campaigning heavily in your state this week, while Harris has scaled back her schedule in part for debate prep. Do you think that this is a missed opportunity by Harris not to bring more of the DNC momentum from last week out onto the campaign trail early this week, particularly in your key state of Michigan?
Well, no, Alex, good to be with you. I think, one, we need a candidate who's doing debate prep and needs to make sure that she is rested and doesn't make mistakes. She's getting right back out on the road this week. She's going to a number of other battleground states. They were here. Donald Trump wants Michigan. I have said that to everybody. I told people in 2016 he could win Michigan. And I think he's hoping that he's going to do that again. But I can tell you that there were a lot of us out working this weekend. We had our state convention, so a lot of people were focused there. We had surrogates in the state. We're having record numbers of people that are doing the canvases and the phone banking. And I know we will see both candidates in Michigan on our side as well. I mean, we're seeing Trump advance here how many times? 3 times this week. Michigan's at play. You're going to see the candidates.
And Congresswoman, whether it's on the campaign trail or in a future debate, Trump is certain to go after Harris on the economy. I want to play a bit of sound from Senator Lindsey Graham arguing against Democrats in an interview with CNN. Take a listen.
This whole joy love fest doesn't exist in the real world. The world is on fire. Your grocery bill's up, your gas bill is up, your mortgage payments are up, and the worst is yet to come if you reelect these people yet again.
So, Congresswoman Graham there speaking about some very practical implications for the American people. How does the vice president counter that line of attack?
I think she just talks the truth. I mean, first of all, I really think that this is a very easy comparison between what the administration of former President Trump was and what the administration of Vice President Harris will be. And we do not need any more hate or division. The place that the former President Trump chose to go last week was where there was a KKK march only a month ago, and it's known as the home of KKK. That's spreading hate.
So I love how she deflects. He went where they did a KKK march, and she totally ignores the fact that, yeah, Joe Biden went there and actually campaigned there as well. Because she's trying to deflect. She doesn't want to acknowledge that, we're really not where we want to be in the campaign. She's really not being willing to show up. And by the way, we have Eddie McCoy here who said people all concerned with winning, not for their freedom of speech and suppressing the truth. It's a sad world. And no, I think you're just getting Eddie caught up in the context. And the context of what we're talking about here is elections. But I'll just talk about COVID-19. I mean, we lost our YouTube channel here on the Rundown. We lost our YouTube channel and thousands of subscribers because we shared information that we now know to be true about COVID-19. I mean, stuff we know is true now. We lost our channel. And that's, once again, because we presented a narrative that was outside or different from the government narrative. And it's not just on that. There's tons of censorship. And in this particular case, we're talking about, and by the way, a media outlet that decides to do censorship or decides to report something in a biased way, they have every right to do that. I just have every right to call them out on being biased. The challenge we have here with the technology companies and what they're doing is, number one, they're putting their thumb on the scale, right? They are claiming to be, and they have protections at the federal level of being non-biased. But they pick winners and losers, and they decide whose information is going to get through and who isn't. And lo and behold, almost every single time, whether it's an error or a mistake, the error always happens on the side of the people that they don't like. They're the ones that always lose their channels. They're the ones whose email wind up in spam. If it's just a mistake, it only seems to be a mistake that happens to one side. Now, when it's done at the behest of government, well, now that is government censorship. When the government is coming to them and coercing them to do this, we now know it is censorship. And the thing is this, I get it, we're complaining because we're the ones being censored. If we're the ones that are being censored and nothing happens, there's no repercussions, nobody pays a price for it, then what happens when we're in control? Now, me personally, I would like to see that whole issue addressed and see nobody be censored. But you know what? And I'll wholly acknowledge it. There are people on our side who believe turnabout is fair play. And if you're going to use the government to censor us, then we'll use the government to censor you. And what are you going to do about it? Am I going to go on your podcast, Eddie, and start talking about, well, people don't really care about free speech? I care about free speech. In fact, I probably speak louder to defend speech that I hate than speech that I like. Because guess what? The First Amendment is primarily about protecting speech you hate. It's about protecting speech that offends people and speech that that bothers us. Because if we all agree on it, then it probably isn't going to be censored. Anyway, just an observation. Quick note, you guys have been, we've been talking a little bit about the debates. There's been a lot of stuff going back and forth relating to the debates. At first, Harris came out and said, well, she's only going to do the one debate, which was the ABC debate. That's the debate she agreed to. Trump came out and said he wasn't sure if he was going to debate because he didn't want to do a debate on ABC that was clearly biased against him. And there's no doubt, if you watch the National Association of Black Journalists interviews, you know. If you watch any of the news channel, you know they're biased against him. I think the guy who's moderating it once referred to him as, like the KKK. I don't know. Or no, Hitler. That's right. He referred to him as akin to Hitler. So, yeah, no, I don't think that's going to be unbiased. That having been said, when she came out and said, well, I'm not, no, I forgot. He came out and he said, let's do 3 debates. Let's do one on ABC. Let's do another one on Fox News, and then another one. And she said, nope, we've already agreed to one. And by the way, that agreement was with Joe Biden, not Kamala Harris. But he said, fine, we'll do ABC, but I want to do one other. She said, well, whether or not we do another one will be dependent on if you show up to ABC. Well, then she came out and was like, well, we want to have the mics on. He's like, what? Oh, she wanted the mics on. She wanted to be able to sit down and she wanted to be able to have notes. Well, no, those aren't. You said supposedly the terms of the debate with Joe Biden that were agreed upon were the terms you were going to go by. Those weren't part of those agreements. You're going to be on your feet. You're not going to have any notes. You're not going to be allowed to have any notes. And the mics will be turned off. And she's like, well, we want the mics hot. And he's like, they went and asked him, and he's like, well, I didn't. That was what Joe Biden wanted, the mics off. I don't care. We can have them on. I prefer to have them on. So yeah, we'll agree to have them on. And now she's still trying to say, well, but no, she's trying to change the rules so that she doesn't have to do the debate. She also, by the way, if she does do the debate, she wants the mic on because she wants to do a hot mic moment. She wants to be able to say, Donald Trump, Mr. Trump, I'm speaking, Mr. Trump. Stop mansplaining. That's what she wants to do. She wants to make Trump look like a jerk. And if there's one thing that Trump has to be careful of, it's not coming across like a jerk. Because no matter what, and I don't care what people say in poll after poll, when you come out like that, versus most female candidates, it makes you look bad. Now, it seemed to work for him against Hillary Clinton. The hot mic definitely seemed to work for him. I wasn't particularly a fan of it, but the hot mic moments definitely seemed to help him out when it came to debating Hillary Clinton. Not so much when it came to Joe Biden. During that debate, didn't come out really well. But anyway, so you've got Kamala Harris is definitely trying. I think she's trying to either get out of the debate or get even more concessions, which is kind of odd. It's like, you said, first of all, Joe Biden got everything he wanted, right? He got the venue that he wanted. He got the sit down. He got the microphone thing that he wanted. He got what he asked for. I don't understand why add more things. Why is she coming back and asking for more things without, by the way, agreeing to a second debate on Fox News? Now, I know why she won't do a debate on Fox News. Because she only can be surrounded by her fans, by her sycophants, people who are going to carry her water. Because when the debate takes place, it is going to be Donald Trump against Kamala Harris and the moderator. Because they want to be able to fact check him in real time. And they won't fact check her. Let's just be clear. They won't fact check her at all. Anyway. Oh wow. Yeah, I very much appreciate you, Mr. Caesar Facts, for this long post that you decided that you were going to put in here. I'm not going to read your comment, but if you want to go, he posted it on Facebook. If you want to check it out and see what Mr. Caesar Facts had to say, I'll let you check it out for yourself. But yeah, that's a little bit more than I'm interested in reading during today's program. In any case, moving right along. Has Harris changed her position on the border wall? Well, we already know that we don't really know, where she's at on the border wall because we don't know if she was the border czar or not. I mean, it's kind of funny how they've changed, how the media themselves, by the way, have changed her position on the border wall. Like this.
Quote unquote border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
All right. Just real quick. a guy named Shelley decided to say her name is pronounced Kamala. Well, let me just address that real quick. So my brother's wife's name is the same name. They have the same name. In fact, what's funny is her maiden name is actually also happens to be Harris. And so when I asked her how to pronounce her name, she said her name is Kamala. They've been married for 25 years. For 25 years, I've either been calling her by one name that she goes by or calling her Kamala. So if I call the Vice President of the United States Kamala sometimes, it's not an attempt to be disrespectful. It's because someone else, another black woman who has the same exact name, happens to pronounce it Kamala. So, and by the way, just so you know, my wife is East Indian. And I asked her, I said, this is an Indian name, right? She's like, well, how do you pronounce it in Hindi? She said, it's Kamala, which is very different than Kamala. So to act like there's only one way in which you pronounce the name, and if you don't pronounce it that way, it is offensive. You know what? Her policies offend me more. And I'll put it to you this way. I would rather be corrected on how to pronounce her name every single day than see her become president. Period. Because her policies offend me that much. Yes, they offend me that much. And a great example, by the way, happens to be her border policy, which, by the way, we don't even know. Gotta remember to turn the sound on. There we go. Which, by the way, we don't even know what it really is, because an interesting thing noted here, whenever all of these changes in her policies haven't really been put out there by her or her camp, by her, we haven't heard from her. Remember, it's been 38 days since she's been the nominee. Zero interviews. She did one moment, she kind of briefly did a release on her economic policy. And, well, let's just say she had to use a word salad to try and defend it. Anyway, that having been said, this piece here by Nolte and Axios makes Nolte at Breitbart makes an interesting point. Axios spreads Kamala's lie about supporting a border wall. Pro-Kamala Harris gerbils at the far left Axios are spreading the absurd lie Vice President, I'm not gonna call her that, is now in favor of completing former President Trump's southern border wall. I'm told that when you enter the Axios offices, everyone has their own locker where they check in their self-respect. Okay, that's funny. Harris flip-flops on building the border wall, reads the lying headline, in an effort to protect democracy. I do not link disinformation. So I guess they didn't link to the article. If she is elected, the gerbils tell us, Kamala Harris pledges to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the wall along the southern border, a project she once opposed and called, quote, un-American during the Trump administration. Now, let's touch on that real quick. Either she hasn't changed her position, which I doubt she has. I think she's campaigning a certain way. And the reason why we haven't heard it from her mouth is because it makes it easier for her to back away from it, to not actually implement it. She can say, well, I never said that. I don't know where you got that. But that having been said, or if she did, she can't explain now why she changed her mind. If pressured and asked why she changed her mind, she will not be effective in being able, they will not being able to do it, right? They just won't. She is not capable of defending her positions in public when pressed. And that's the big thing, when pressed. I mean, keep in mind, 38 days since she's been the nominee. The last sit-down interview she did was back in June 24th. So what would that be? June, July, August, 2 full months ago? 2 full months ago was the last interview. Over a month ago, the last time. It's been over a month since she was, the de facto nominee. Once again, nothing. So we don't know if she's changed her position. But one thing we can be sure of, she doesn't know. Or at least if she knows, she doesn't know how to defend it. I'll tell you one thing that they do know, though, over there. And they do know that they don't like guns there in their administration. They do know that the Second Amendment is, to them, the Constitution is more like a suggestion. But the Biden-Harris administration is committed to spending $20 billion in order to disarm law-abiding citizens. That's right, $20 billion. And where did I stick that? I know I have that here. Here we go. Fact focus. Okay. Anyway, I do not have the article up here. But anyway, there is a story that is out where they are basically have committed $20 billion to disarm traffic cops. Let's go. There we go. Bam. Found it there at the Washington Free Beacon. See, this is the problem with being both in front of and behind the camera at the same time, is that sometimes if you miss something and you're doing the administration, then, well, you wind up messing up. But, hey, here we are. It says here, according to the Washington Free Beacon, Biden-Harris Equity Commission wants to spend I said billion. I was incorrect. It was $20 million to disarm traffic cops. Let's see here. It says criminals opened fire on at least 134 police officers during routine traffic stops from 2021 to 2023. Federal data shows. Now, an equity commission convened by the Biden-Harris administration wants to spend $20 million on a pilot program that would deploy unarmed cops to conduct traffic enforcement. The Advisory Committee on Transportation Equity in an Obama-era body revived by Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg last year said in a report released this month that cops don't need to carry guns or tasers with them when on the streets enforcing traffic laws. The commission, whose membership includes an activist who once said cars perpetuate systematic racism, urged the federal government to spend $20 million developing a pilot program to test the use of non-lethal, perhaps non-police traffic enforcement. So, in other words, they want someone to go out there in the middle of the night, pull someone over who may be engaging in illegal activity, or basically who's speeding, who ran a red light, who may be intoxicated or under the influence. They want them to pull them over, walk up to the window with absolutely no ability to defend themselves. Now, I will just say, this is not something that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris have said specifically that they want to do. But these are the people that they have around them. These are the people who are running the administration. And by the way, just so you know, Joe Biden's not running the administration. He's not. He's trying to figure out what time he's going to get his tapioca, but he's not running the administration. I think that's kind of clear. I think that's kind of obvious. So you have to look to who are the people that they have appointed, who are the people that they have chosen to surround themselves with. And these folks, they're top of the list, top of the line. They're the ones who he surrounded himself with. So you got to wonder. Anyway, I'm against the idea of unarming traffic police. It's one of the most dangerous activities that they engage in, because every time they walk up behind a car, they don't know if they're going to live through that experience, because they don't know if the person in there has got warrants. They don't know if they're on something, or they don't know if they're just evil and want to kill cops. So Yeah, let's not do that. How about that? All right, folks, that brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com, use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Speaking of the debate, Kamala Harris, well, her staff has asked, this is according to, by the way, this is according to the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. Harris team asks if her mic can just be muted for the whole debate. Now, I wonder why that is. I guess it's better to be silent and thought a fool than to speak up and remove all doubt. Now, the other thing that's a little dirty secret that no one's really talking about is the fact that people don't really like working for Kamala Harris. In fact, there's been a huge turnover during her time as vice president. In fact, according to the folks there over at the Babylon Bee, Kamala Harris explains 93% of staff quit because they can't handle the joy. That's right, 93% of her staff has turned over because, they can't handle the joy. And finally, this last one here, this is from a comedian, kind of helping you to understand exactly why we have a Second Amendment. And I've said something similar in the past, so I think you'll find it amusing.
It's the second thing we wrote. It's the second thing we wrote. Out of all the things to write when starting a country, the second thing they wrote down is you better get a gun. The first thing they wrote down is you can say what you want, and then they were like, oh, but you better get a gun if you want to do that.
Yeah, you better get a gun if you want to do that. I always use the one from Dave Chappelle. He said the First Amendment is first for a reason. The second is in case the first doesn't work out. Anyway, real stuff, real talk, real talk. All right, folks, well, that's just about going to wrap it up today. Before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries rifle and pistol length barrels, available for you at hitmanindustries.net. We got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. Find them at cragop.org. Then we've got Hog Holsters, HAWG Holsters, helping Americans wear guns. Guess your discount by using the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, and get your Hog Holster on discount today. And then finally, you can find all things tactical, except the gun, at uscombatgear.com. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and if you get a chance, remember to send a few downrange. We'll holler at you later.